Microloading on squats and deadlifts. What are your thoughts? I don't have thoughts on it. I don't typically do it except with microloading on squats and deadlifts. I would do that maybe with and microloading, for those of you that aren't coming out of the starting strength world, that's basically progressing a load, workout to workout or week to week with less than a 5-pound increment. So going up a pound at a time, 2 pounds at a time, something like that, microloading. Very common to do that with all types of trainees on bench presses and overhead presses and other upper body movements. Squats and deadlifts, though, not really. I do that maybe with lighter weight females, some older clients, maybe 60 and above, that sort of thing, where we're trying to progress really, really conservative. Young kids, maybe 13, 14 years old. If I'm training that population, I might progress, really, really conservative. But a male in his 20s, 30s, 40s, by the time, if your rate of adaptation is that slow where you need to microload your squat and your deadlift, it's probably a good idea that you go ahead and just go to intermediate level programming. Because especially, I'm assuming this is a novice question. If you're on the novice program and you're trying to go, a 350 pound squat on Monday and then 352 on Wednesday and 354 on Friday, if your rate of adaptation is that slow, you're just going to be grinding yourself into a bloody pulp. And that's not really the idea. So I'll go ahead and switch somebody to intermediate programming and a little slower progression, rather than trying to microload them like that, because it's just going to burn them out. It's not going to last that long anyway. So I wouldn't suggest it for most people. 5 and 10 pound increments, 5s once you get going after a while. Deadlift sets across. Your thoughts? Again, I don't have thoughts on them. It's just when it's appropriate, it's good, and when it's not, it's not. So when I first start somebody that's a novice, I typically always do deadlift sets across up to 3 days a week. So that might be 9 sets of deadlifts per week, for a ranked novice. And depending on who that person is, how strong they are, male, female, age, all that sort of thing, depends on how long we might stay with that progression. I'll typically stay with sets across, and then I'll drop the frequency on that and go to maybe twice a week or at like every other workout, but I'll keep the volume up. And then once it becomes apparent that, 3 sets of 5 across is getting to be too much, they can't sustain that, I'll drop it to maybe even just 2 sets, keep running with that, and then drop it again to 1 set, and we'll run out. That's where you get into just running a single set of 5, every other workout or every couple of workouts on the novice progression is enough stress to continue to drive adaptation. And then once they reach the conclusion of the novice stage, maybe a few weeks where we drop it down to a triple, then again, that's a temporary fix. It's not really a fix. It's just a temporary trick to eke out a few more pounds of LP off of it, but it's not a long-term solution. And then so we into intermediate training, and at that point, the volume is going to need to go back up on the deadlifts. And so whether that's sets across or a series of back off sets or whatever, but if you finish your LP with 1 set of 5 deadlifts, once a week, once you get into intermediate training, you're probably going to need to back things up a little bit, increase your training volume again, maybe bring the weights down, and then depends on the intermediate program that you're running, but you're going to need more volume after that long period of pretty low volume, low frequency that you might end the novice linear progression with. That's the thing with volume. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. It's not necessarily high volume or low volume all the time. It's periods of higher volume followed by periods of lower volume with higher intensity, and then volume goes back up, and then it comes back down, and then it goes back up. So it's, the whole debate of high volume or low volume to me is silly, because you're not going to stick with either approach, forever. You're not going to stick with high volume, low intensity, for a long period of time, nor are you going to stick with high intensity, low volume for any period of time. The two things as an intermediate and advanced are going to oscillate, every few weeks or every few months, depends on the length of your training cycles. But volume goes up, volume comes down, and then it repeats. That's pretty much training for the rest of your life.